What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the KCSN Defensive Film Breakdown. My name is Craig Stout. I'm here with two, once again, Chiefs legends, Mike DeVito and Derrick Johnson. And you may notice something new about our logo, and Derrick Johnson might be noticing it for the first time too. Going forward here, we would like to announce that this is going to be brought to you by Derrick Johnson's Defend the Dream Foundation. DJ, we really appreciate your time and all the time that you spent going through this with us. I know I'm donating, Mike's donating. We're going to put a donate link below all of this. So if you're listening, if you want to hook DJ up, that's a great place to, do that. DJ, explain what Defend the Dream is real quick.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. I'll tell you what, Defend the Dream is really close to my heart. My foundation caters to inner city kids through education. It's a big part of my life. It's a big part of my passion, helping kids, low-income areas through literacy. So that's the specific title that we're under when it comes to helping them through education, giving them the proper resources meaning books, enhancing their library, which is the heart of their school, and being able to provide age-appropriate new books for the kids to up their reading level before they get out of elementary is a big deal. So really passionate about it.
That's awesome, man. That's really awesome.
There's so many guys that do stuff for the community, and it's always 100% a good thing. But you have some of these guys that you wonder whether they actually care about what they're doing versus whether they're just doing it to do it. Because this is an easy one to give to and donate to, not only because it's a great cause, but because DJ, I know you so well, and I know your heart for people and for kids, and so I really know when you say that you're in this, that you really are in it, and it's something you really do care about. So I can't recommend more.
Right, and definitely, especially being retired from NFL, you can pour more time into it. And I mean, this is something that you when you retire, if you want to invest in something, this is the time. You don't have to do anything. So this is something that's close to near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Link down below. Make sure show them some love.
Check it out.
Go down there. Go check it out.
Yes.
All right. Before we get into the film this week, I did want to bring something up. Matt House, Chiefs linebackers coach, moving on to be LSU's defensive coordinator after the Chiefs season is over, sticking with the Chiefs. Obviously a great move for him. LSU's a big program. A big deal for him. But I wanted to talk to it from a positional coach's standpoint, because I'm not sure that a lot of people listening to this may not know exactly what the positional coaches do on a week-to-week basis. And I just wanted you guys maybe to speak real quick from your perspective. Like, DJ, as a linebackers coach, what sorts of things were brought to the table during the week? Is it more technique-based? Is it stuff that's, film-related? What is it that you're getting from these position coaches every single week?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. You have the defensive coordinator who's, generally have the big scheme of things, right? This is how we're going to attack certain things. But your position coach, that's the person that personally the best. And when you're in the meeting room, if you have any kind of question or any kind of debate on any kind of scheme or technique, that's the time to get it out, because the position coach is the connection to the defensive coordinator. So whatever y'all talk about in the linebacker room, so to speak, it goes straight to the defensive coordinator. And the position coach is really valuable, because they have to communicate what the coaches are talking about, meaning the defensive coordinator, or what the player wants to do too. So you got two channels going in. And I tell you what, I've had one of the best position coaches in Gary Gibbs. I was with him for 8 or 9 years, and I tell you what, man, we got very close. And you talk about communication in the linebacker room. That was key when it comes to position coaches.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And when you meet on Wednesdays, the first thing you do as a defense is meet as the whole defensive group, right? Defensive unit, and the defensive coordinator will install the game plan for the week. So what we're doing for that week, what plays we plan to call. Now, he can't sit up there and go through all the nuances of every position, right? He's going to say, this D-line, you're lined up like this, linebackers doing this, coverage, you're doing this. And in fact, if he's doing that for anybody, he's spending way more time with the coverage in the back end talking about what's going on there than he is about anything going on up front.
I laugh at that because the defensive linemen there and they're like, oh my goodness, they're ready to leave.
Like, let us out, man. I mean, poor Bob Sutton would be in there talking about coverages, and we'd be going for hours and just like, oh man, please. But DJ's right. I mean, you get into the defensive line room, linebackers room, and now it's time for that position coach to sort of tease out the nuances of what's going to go into all of that install, all those different plays that went in. So it's really an important position. And when you see a guy like Matt House leave, one of the things you worry about is, if DJ's in the linebacker room, then the transition's easy. I mean, you miss the guy, but if you have a guy like DJ, an established veteran who's going to lead that thing, who basically could coach the room if there wasn't a coach, you're good to go. And if you have older guys around him, it's even better. When you have a younger group of guys, that coaching position becomes even more vital, right? Because you have a lot of guys that still are learning the nuances of the game and the little technique things that the older guys are just going to know like that and can convey to the younger guys. So I remember when Rex Ryan came to the Jets in 2009, one thing he did at each position group, obviously he brought in his coaching staff, but at each position group, he also brought in an older veteran to be a part of that room from Baltimore. So somebody who knows his defense, knew what he was doing, knew how the plays work. So he brought that guy in alongside a new defensive line coach, a new linebackers coach, to help aid in that process of getting guys caught up. And so that's the one thing you worry about. I know the linebacker room is still a fairly young room. I know you have Hitchens, right? But who else? I mean, you've got a lot of young guys in there.
I mean, yeah, it's Bolton and Gay and Neiman. Neiman would be the next guy that's been around for a long period of time. And Neiman's contract is up after the season. Hitchens gets a lot more expensive. Like, there's a lot of potentially moving pieces there. So that may be an important hire this offseason.
Exactly. And I wouldn't be surprised if Spags maybe brings in an older guy that knows his defense. Right. To also help aid in that transition. So long-winded answer, but important spot on a team, no doubt.
Either one of you want to be a position coach?
Look, as soon as you said that, I was like, man, you know what? I could. And then I'm like, no, I got a lot of business with 6 kiddos. So I gotta wait. I'm gonna wait a little bit.
What's hard too is that I've learned is it's one thing to play the game. It's a whole nother thing to be able to coach it.
True.
And
True.
I am not very good at conveying. I remember working with my high.
That is not true, Mike.
Well,
Mike.
You know what? Well, DJ, I remember working with my high school when I was playing. Right, I was in the league. I was playing, and my high school had me come back and do some work with them in the summertime. And I remember the kids saying, I'd say, okay, we're going to work this, and you throw a rip move in here, and they're like, well, how do you do a rip move? I was like, well, you just do it. Just do the rip move. What do you mean? How do you do it? How do you get in a stance? Like, I haven't thought for a decade and a half about how to get into a stance, So it's like, it's actually a really hard job. And some of the, some coaches that I've worked with that haven't been the greatest coaches were actually former players, So it's a different talent. DJ, you would be unreal at that. I wouldn't be surprised if you get a phone call from Andy saying, "Get on." You know
what? I would really enjoy that being that up personal with the guys and that camaraderie. So I'm sure it's like being on a team again, like a player, but being able to see it from different eyes and man, that'd be awesome. But not right now. Not right now.
No, all those kids. I know all the kids. It's hard. It's hard with the kids.
All right. Chiefs dominated the Steelers this week. Absolutely dominated. It seemed like Steve Spagnuolo was in the Steelers' back pocket all game long. And so we're just going to dive right into the film here with the very first play of the game. This is the absolute very first play of the game. Steelers running a toss sweep to the outside. Steelers had a very horizontal focused offense, trying to protect, Ben Roethlisberger a little bit, try and protect the interior of that offensive line. And what you're going to see here is just the initial get off from L'Jarius Sneed, from Anthony Hitchens, and from Chris Jones here make this play happen almost immediately. Like, they knew this toss sweep was coming. is really quick that you get to see these guys out there in space. And this happened all game long.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, 24 plays back into it. It's just a sign of maturity on a defense, especially a defensive front. And we talked about this before, so it's not new. But if you watch Chris react, he sees that 24 gets pinned in, and he just has the wherewithal to flow around him, to not worry about getting stuck in there. But he basically becomes a linebacker almost, where he feels the flow. He sees this guy get stuck in, so he can wrap around. And I'm sure that wasn't designed. That's just him recognizing the freedom that he has. When you have a defense, especially a front that's gelling like that, where they can just play off each other and it's natural and smooth and nobody's missing a beat, you're going to always have guys at the football.
Yeah, when you can tell that a defense is really good, and when you can see the whole frame of everyone running to the ball. If you can all run to the ball, man, that is, oh man, that's a good look right there. This is something you show in the film room and say, look at this guy. Everybody's running to the ball. Matt Ingram actually does a really good job into playing this block, because he has the tight end coming on, cracking him a little bit, and then he goes into him just so the running back has a chance to has the bubble out to the sideline, and everybody is running to the ball. This is good. This lets you know this is going to be a long day.
Yeah. And shout out to L'Jarius Sneed taking the pulling blocker. That tackle's trying to get out in front of this. That is a slot defender absorbing that block and absorbing a wide receiver. And
he took up
block.
two. He took up two right there. He had somebody
right
cracking him, and he took out the pulling tackle.
Yep, that's a fantastic play by that entire side of the line there, and Hitchens gets out there in space. Now we're going to go to the third play of the game, and this is just an outstanding run stuff by the right side of the line. You're going to see Jaron Reed kind of feel the center and throw him forward, kind of dip over the top here, and Frank Clark is going to extend and stack the offensive tackle on the edge here, peek around the outside, keep his arms extended. And this play is designed to go over here, and it's blown up immediately, especially with Tyrann Mathieu crashing hard from the outside here. This is just great run defense by three guys here to make sure that they bottle this up with a bunch of action in front of it, that tight end flash and everything else in front of him.
Yeah. Go ahead, DJ. Sorry.
I think this is the blitz right here. This is him coming off the edge, and the line has a stunt on. I love when linemen do this, because a lot of times linemen, especially offensive linemen, they like defensive linemen just to line up and say, hey guys, we're going to double up here. We're going to do this. They know, they want to see exactly where you are, and to be able to have some the ability to move on the snap of the ball. It really kind of slows the offensive lineman down. And this is, as linebackers behind this, we're just kind of cleaning up. We're kind of letting the defensive linemen do what they do and see if they can get some penetration off their stump move coming inside. And this was perfect. This is a great job by 90 right here.
Yeah. If you look at 90, this is a little small technique thing, but it makes all the difference. You have defensive linemen when you're running these jam moves, right? So you have a blitz coming from the right, and that 90 has to jam from one gap to another, right? So he's in the front side A gap, he's going backside A gap. What happens is a lot of times you see linemen take this big step, and it's easy to come across the face of that guard, or at least get bottled up with him. But what you have to work on, and what takes so much technique and intentionality, is to take that step and then right up the field, right? So you see 90 doing this here, where he doesn't overstep. He doesn't take that jam too far where he gets, out of and go back to the beginning again too, one more time. What's the formation? Like, I would have taken a pretty big jam step here. If you have I think you have a tight end on the line on our left, and I think that's a wide receiver up on our right. So right now I'm thinking the run's going to the tight end. They're not going to run it. They're not going to run a run back at this wide receiver on the line. So I would have jammed like hell. I would have gotten caught on the wrong side of this guard. But even with the pre-snap formation read, he doesn't overstep, takes that one quick step, he's up the field, and he's able to get in and make the play. I mean, that's just a small technique thing that makes all the difference. A lot of guys would have gotten totally taken out of that play by too long of a step or not a quick redirect.
Yeah, Mike's absolutely right. I've seen guys take the easy way out where because they're going left, but the offensive linemen are going right. So it's easy to say, okay, just let me keep looping, and actually you kind of mess up the guys behind you. You need to, your gap is that backside A gap. So after you take that step, if they're going to the right side, you got to get up in there and get penetration like 90 did. It's perfect.
Nice. All right, now we're going to the fourth play of the game. You're seeing a trend here. This is consecutive stuff to start the game. And this is one of the few plays that the Steelers actually ran a longer passing concept. And I really wanted to highlight Willie Gay Jr. and the way that he's going to mirror Ben Roethlisberger's eyes. You're going to see him drop out. He's near the line of scrimmage right now. You're going to see him drop out and watch him rob this crossing route, forcing Ben Roethlisberger to pull this down, and it allows Chris Jones to affect the play. Actually sinking, forces Roethlisberger to pull it back, and he puts it kind of in the dirt here. So we'll watch from this angle. You can see he wants to throw that ball, and Willie Gay Jr.'s ability to stay in that lane just makes all of the difference in the world. He wants to hit this crosser, and Willie Gay actually takes it away by flashing right in front of him, and Chris Jones gets his paw on this one.
Man, this is good. This is right here, man. This makes me smile. You talk about a young guy in pass coverage, which is really hard to do for young linebackers, inside backers. But I'll tell you what, you talk about his eyes, knowing the situation, knowing that you have help on the inside. So a lot of guys, that guy is right by him, so he will follow him more in there, but it's actually going to open up the hole right behind him. And he just, a lot of times people say, oh, you got to get interceptions and you got to do all this stuff. But prevention of throws is huge. It's huge. And it gets you sacks. It helps out the D line for that guy to hold the ball just a second longer and him to throw it in the dirt. That's just like that's PBU right there. That's big time.
Look at 90 on this play.
Yeah,
so
I was going to ask you about that one, Mike. You feel comfortable dropping into coverage as a defensive lineman here?
I have a terrible story. So say almost the same exact thing, except for the back came up through the middle. This is a wide receiver coming across here. But I was playing the Patriots. I was with the Jets. And if you go back to the beginning and pause it, I was in a 3 technique. So I wasn't down in the A gap. I was in the B gap. And I was supposed to jam inside. And then 53 was going to come off into that B gap, right? So I'm supposed to engage this guard. It was Dime Spike Vegas, I think it was called. And I would engage him, let 53 come through, and then drop out. So help with the blitz to get 53 through and then drop out into coverage. Yeah. Now, the hope was that the blitz would get there. But we're playing the pads. Danny Woodhead is at back. Tom Brady is in the same spot as Roethlisberger. We run this play, and now if you run it, Craig, we run this play. So I jam step in and then drop out like this, and Danny Woodhead comes right up through that A gap. The blitz doesn't get home and crosses right in front of me, just like this guy did. And Tom Brady threw it to him, and they took it for like 70 yards. Like it was no shot. In New York, I was gigantic too. I was probably 325 pounds. I was like, oh no, like I have to be in coverage right now. And it just is amazing because you look at 90 and you look at these defensive linemen now, and look at how athletic he is. Yeah, backing up out of there. Like I would bet he would be okay if it went that way. Like back when I was playing, no chance. If I had to cover, it was just, I wish you could see the play. I got to try to find the clip because it's ugly. But it just shows you like 90 is one of those guys that's in there stopping the run, great run technique, take on double teams. But then you look at how fluid and athletic he is and the way he can drop and move. And you can just tell with that little bit that he'd be okay in coverage. I mean, it's just the rare mix nowadays of the ability to be powerful, but at the same time, the athleticism that these guys have is unbelievable.
Yep. Doesn't happen often. Steve Spagnuolo doesn't drop his defensive line as often as maybe you'd see in a 3-4 or something like that, where there's a primary pass coverage responsibility, but he'll mix it in there. It's rare that he
Right.
does it with a 3-man rush like that one, but it was effective. Clogged the middle of the field, took away what the Steelers wanted to do on that play. All right. Now we've got the very next play here. You're seeing the Chiefs in a dime defense. You are seeing, once again, this wide alignment. We've talked about it a couple of times recently with Ben Neiman mugging the A gap, standing up over, kind of like a zero tech here. And what we're going to see is just a ridiculously effective rush by Frank Clark and Jaron Reed. Once again, these two guys working well. This is once again kind of what you were talking about, Mike, seeing the opening come and still being able to push through, get home. Frank Clark looping back around there. Frank Clark actually dominated this tackle a few times off of the edge here on Sunday. But once again, one of the few times that Roethlisberger held onto the ball, they called a deeper passing concept, and the Chiefs pass rush was able to get home on this third down.
Yeah, I mean, this is fantastic. And this is, what we talk about when you have a front four that can get there on their own, that they don't need to dial up blitzes and do fancy stuff, right? So who do you got to double team? You got to double team 95, right? So this gives 90 a two-way go. He knows it. He takes it. He plays off of Frank, and then boom. And now the pressure's coming from four guys and from both sides of the ball. So there's nowhere for Roethlisberger to go that's going to allow him to feel comfortable. I mean, this is just a product of having a great defensive line and having rushers at each spot that they can get there. Like, again, when I was with the Jets and even in Kansas City, if I was ever in on third down, there better have been a blitz, right? Because I just couldn't do this. But you look at him, I mean, this is just a great rushing technique, playing off his guy, sees the opening and finishes. Yep. And then Frank, obviously, he's all over the place.
Yeah, I love this. This is with not even seeing the outside, the other DBs. This is definitely a cover 2 drop right here with Ben being the low drop player right here. But it's great how he lines up over the center, because that kind of makes the protection simple to say, hey, 5-0 or 5 out or whatever. What would they say, Mike, on this 5-0?
Yeah, 5-0, 5-0.
Yeah. Just it's one-on-one everybody. But when he drops out, they have to double team 95. But I tell you what, you talk about Frank Clark going speed to power with the long arm is beautiful coming in. I mean, goodness gracious, this is good right here. We need to have Tamba Ali talking about this right here, man. This is no doubt. I've learned so much from him over the years, and to see this get pressure on a quarterback, not a mobile quarterback, especially when you can rush 4. This is, I mean, you can play back in the back end all day.
Yeah. And again, the Steelers they had a concerted effort to get the ball out quick, get horizontal. So getting these opportunities was rare on Sunday. It was good to see them get taken advantage of. This is the 6th play of the game. So this is the 5th play that we've covered and the 6th play of the game for the defense. This is how well they started. And this is a phenomenal rush by Frank Clark and a phenomenal interception by Charvarius Ward. You're going to see kind of a 3-deep look here with Juan Thornhill rotating into the box off of this flea flicker. And the receiver actually on this play tries to kind of stem out. He sees that Charvarius Ward has flipped his hips. He's staying over the top of it. He's trying to stem out to kind of flatten the route out a little bit. But Ben Roethlisberger is attacking vertically. Charvarius Ward locates the ball in flight, comes up with a huge play on this. Just a terrific play by Ward on the outside, but up front, a good job as well by Frank Clark, beating his guy underneath, taking his run gap responsibility and converting it into a pass rush rep here on a play that was a flea flicker, designed to try and fool the Chiefs. A good job by everybody to stay on top of this. I mean, when you guys see a trick play, a flea flicker, something like that this early in the game, what's your mentality as a defense? Is it, oh, these guys are having to pull out all the stops now this early? Yeah.
Absolutely. When we see this and it doesn't work, we're like, okay, we got them now. They're pulling out of stuff that they shouldn't pull out this early in the game. But I tell you one thing that Ward does on a great thing he does, he keeps his face in it, and he sees the ball. Like it doesn't matter if he threw it, flat or not. Warbur's gonna make this play just because he had eyes on Ben. And when he has his depth, when you get your depth as a DB, you can make a lot of plays happen, especially on trick plays. And he's got cushion. I mean, this is perfect for a young DB.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and when you look at Frank, I mean, this is something that we tried to practice all the time as defensive linemen, and it's really hard to do, is transition on the play action pass from recognizing run to now rushing the passer. And if you see, right, I mean, he gets the hard set, and he's able to get on the edge, flip his hips, and get through there. That is not an easy thing to do, right? I mean, it's not like he's getting off the football 100 miles an hour and he can, he's in pass rush modes. He's playing the run. You see him hop a little bit, but he's able to hop inside, get on the edge, and get pressure. And just, again, being able to transition from run the pass on a play action into a pass rush mode is hard to do. And it's, it's nearly impossible to get there because of how fast everything happens. And yet he's able to quickly diagnose what's going on, recognize it, get on his hips, and go. And so, I mean, obviously Frank's a special player. So,
yeah. Well, that was, once again, the 6th play of the game. So we're going to skip forward a little bit. We're going to get out of the opening stanza, but a real tone-setting performance by Steve Spagnuolo's group, by the execution of these players. Like, the Steelers are in trouble at this point. The Chiefs have put 14 on them. They kind of have to get out of their bag a little bit here. And so now we're going to flip forward a little bit and see some of the plays that happened a little later in the game. And I want to talk about the way that the defense, once again, like the first play I showed, kind of fast flows to everything here. And you're going to see this jet motion again, this pulling H-back around here, and how quickly everybody's able to work off of this kind of a scrape exchange by Willie Gay Jr. over the top of Mike Dana inside, does a good job of driving and closing the interior gap. And that allows the 2 linebackers to get out in front, absorb the blockers, peel off of them, and make a play here.
Pittsburgh's still doing this like counter OF play. I mean, they did this probably 7 or 8 times when we played it back in 2015. I remember being like, wow, they just love this play. It doesn't even change. Here we are 7 years later, and they're running the same thing. One thing that I will, again, give credit for technique up front is the way these guys play the blocks. If you remember from the first series, I'm almost certain that this was the play that I was talking about where they ran directly to the wide receiver, right? So if you look at our left, you have a wide receiver off the ball. And in the first series of the game, they ran to that side. Now they're running to the tight end side, right? So like somebody like me who's trying to diagnose everything that's going on, this would have messed me up because I would have said, hey, they ran to this receiver the first time. That's a really unique thing. They're probably coming back to that again. But now they run to the tight end side, and you see the guys react well. Good job on the double team. 98 is able to stay in there, get his, get down. He doesn't get pushed out, but he also doesn't sell out all the way where he can be a factor in the play. But good job on the double team, allows the linebackers to flow. Everybody's playing the correct pressure, and there's just nowhere to run.
Yeah, absolutely. The D lineman, that's what you look at first. If a play's if you see a run play where even if the linebacker stuffs it, you look at the D lineman first and see if they played the blocks right, and they played them exactly right. I love this. The linebackers did a great job, stance, alignment, and keying the right things. I mean, you see Hitchens right here. I mean, as soon as that guy going, he almost moves faster than the guard that pulled, and he came inside out, stayed alive. That's a big thing. Being a linebacker in the inside, you got to stay square and stay alive on blocks, just so you can be able to make plays. Because if he goes and take this guard on and wrestles with this guard, I mean, the ball is out the gate. So being able to stay alive, go take on a block, and then get off the block. Somebody has to win, and he won on this.
Yeah. And excuse me, that was different. That might have been different than the first one. That's 44, so that's a fullback. I thought that was I thought that was 14.
Yeah. No, it is a fullback. And I also want to talk about, you mentioned 98's block here. I think a lot of times when people think of, catching a combo block and things like that, I think people are maybe thinking of trying to 2-gap a little bit. You're trying to box both of those offensive linemen out to keep them free. This is a good job trying to keep his rear or his leg in the way and try and prevent the offensive lineman from climbing here, right, Mike? Because you still want to play through that guy, the initial contact, right?
Right.
You're not trying to drive through both guys here, right?
Yeah, Rex Ryan always call it big ball double. So the idea being you got to get off the football, right? You got to get engaged and get that guard knocked back, but you want to throw that hip into the tackle for exactly the reason you said, Craig. You don't want him to be able to get right up to that backer, right? So that tackle's tracking up to 56. The longer you can keep your hip on him and play into him and play that hip back into him, the more time 56 is going to have to flow to the ball. What I used to do is I would cheat like hell. If I had a formation read, I would play my ass right into that tackle right away because I was like, screw it. The guard is going to have no idea how to get up. You know, the guard has a really tough time when thinking he's going to be the drive man, the point man here. And you play into that tackle. All of a sudden now his responsibility is to get up to 56. And so I would play into that tackle, hit back into the guard, and they would be like, I don't know what.
Listen, you know what? I'm smiling from ear to ear because I like to hear that because now the angles change, right? Now the tackle, tackle has a better angle to get on me, but the guard doesn't have a good angle, so I'm over, boom, boom, and I'm over right now, and it's
right.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah, but this is a good way to do it. And I mean, the thing I like about it is you see a lot of guys on double teams will drop that knee, and they're not able to get back into the play, where 98 here is able to get low, gets his knee down, but then he squares himself back up and he's still a factor, right? He doesn't get driven off of the ball. He holds up that tackle long enough, and yet he's still able to square up and get back into the play.
That's a key position, Craig, too, because when you're taking on that double team, I've seen a lot of people just get washed. When you get washed like that, man, you create problem for everybody. I mean, at least you can do, you may not make the play, but you got to fight back in there and try to stay in your ground, because you do have two people on you, but you have to, and that's probably the hardest block you have, I think.
It's the worst feeling in the world when you get I remember them. I still picture them in my head, the times that I got driven off the ball. I mean, there's no worse feeling. It's just awful.
All right, moving on to the next play here. And what we're going to see is Willie Gay Jr. just absolutely using his explosion well to fill on the backside. But once again, you're talking defensive line. Look at the interior here, absorbing these doubles, forming the wall, and then you've got your DBs playing on the front side here. L'Jarius Sneed, Mike Hughes, even Juan Thornhill get involved here. That's a safety up there, kind of absorbing a giant receiver in Chase Claypool. They muddy everything up and force Najee Harris to slow up. And of course, Willie Gay Jr. unblocked from the backside. He's going to chase a lot of guys down with that athleticism. But this is a great job by the whole front here.
It's so what funny. Do we call this the kick play, Mike?
Yeah, I was gonna say
double
crunch. Yeah, crunch play.
Yeah, crunch play. We've seen this plenty of times, and what you do as linebackers, you want to get up and in right now, because you got double on these two defensive tackle, the one technique and the three technique, and if you don't get up there and show up, those guys are going to stay on these double teams forever. And this guy right here, you see Willie Gay, the two guys didn't come off, so he just shot it. You can tell right now he says, all right, let me go get it. That's being a player, not being that guy. Because if you draw this up, actually, Willie Gay, you'll tell him to, hey, check that gap. And then when he goes to the left, you can come over the top. But he was so far in already. It's like, man, that's a player right there. Those are the plays when you're a coach, you're a position coach. You say, hey, I didn't draw it up like that, but great job. This is how because it's never perfect on the field. So you have to make decisions all the time as players. And this was a great decision.
Yeah, this is one of those, like this, we talked about 50 being the rookie 56, right? I mean, if this was DJ, the tackle would have been made right now. And now this young man is getting it right here, which is still really good. And he's got, he's got that ability to have that, that DJ type success. But you're right. I mean, when you look up front, they just did a great job on those double teams. And we know as defensive linemen on these crunch plays, and it's so funny. I mean, if I go back and look at my notes from Pittsburgh, I guarantee you it's going to be counter OF and crunch play, and they're still running the same stuff 7 years later. But but yeah, I mean, look, those double teams are staying hard on those guys, and they didn't get much push, and it allows the linebackers time to flow and get there. And so, yeah, I mean, they're just playing really good, technically sound run defense.
Yep, absolutely. All right, moving on to the next play after Willie Gay celebrates here. What we're going to see here is a bubble screen. The Pittsburgh Steelers tried to get horizontal with the run game. Obviously, we've shown a whole bunch of examples of that not working. It just did not work. They weren't able to get to the edges. So instead, they decided to try and throw to the edges with the Chiefs, kind of showing a little bit of a run blitz here. And this is just not something you can do against a slot defender that's as explosive as L'Jarius Sneed on this play. He just, when he's unblocked like that, you can't leave him that open. And the reason why the ball has to come out so quick is you can see Melvin Ingram knifing inside here. He's meeting Najee Harris in Ben Roethlisberger's lap here. So this is the Chiefs were ruining the Steelers' front repeatedly with pressure, with interior gap shooting. And so they had to resort to changing up their play calls, trying to get a little more out into the flats, and still had to leave guys in to protect. When you do that, you don't have blocking out in front. You get a player like L'Jarius Sneed to make a play.
DJ, is this a smoke screen? Is that what we call the smoke?
Is that what that is?
Yes, I believe. Let me see the lineman real quick.
Does it ever work?
I'm not sure.
I don't know if I've ever seen this play have success for anybody. I don't know.
I mean, you got to have like a slow slot defender, right? You got to have somebody that can't collapse on that guy that quickly, right?
Well, absolutely. I actually, Ben shouldn't have thrown this. He should have ran the ball, even though his run was going to get demolished.
That's right.
Because the look shows them, we're up on them. You can't throw this thing. You want to throw this smoke or this tunnel screen or this bubble. Sorry, you want to throw that when the guys are off. This guy is on right now, and I tell you what, 3 things the Chiefs are doing through this whole game: they're stopping the run, and they're playing tight defense as far as like coverage, tight coverage, one-on-one coverage, and then they're affecting the quarterback when you pass the ball. And this right here is just they shouldn't have. Yeah, this is a bad play.
Yeah, it was doomed. You're right. I didn't even recognize the run option here, but he would have gotten killed. Yeah, there was just nothing going on this one. This was a good this is Spags calling up the perfect play call.
Absolutely.
Yeah, perfect.
Look at Ingram just sneaking in there. Like that block was going to be difficult to make, and it's right as the snap happens there. So just a great play on that particular play. Now we're going to go once again. This is in that same drive here. And so they tried to take advantage of the Chiefs, given the same dime look with you got Ben Neiman lined up in the A gap over the top, that 5-0 call that you guys had talked about earlier. And they tried to flash Najee Harris into the flat quickly. We've seen teams take advantage of the Chiefs linebackers a little bit over the past couple of years with stuff like this. And this is just a terrific play by Ben Neiman staying with the receiver here. Like, this is a 3-yard gain on a play that was a quick little shoot route out here, and it just doesn't go for anything. And so even when this was going to the next play, even when they did try and dial up some stuff to try and counter what the Chiefs were doing, it still wasn't working because the execution up front by these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell you what, man, Ben, this is a great job right here. I have one of these on my highlight film as well. I tell you what, when you're lined up on a center like this, you always think when you line up, hey, what's the worst thing that can happen to me? If this back flares out, because I know I have him. If he flares out, I got to be on my horse. And right now, he gets there with attitude. And this is a play. This is a big time play because Ben did right. He said, okay. It's a man-to-man look. All right, as soon as I get it, I'm gonna flip it out to the running back and make him, get this linebacker in space, and let's see what he can do. Ben lets him know he can't do anything.
And good job up front getting pressure. I mean, they were still, even with the quick pass, they were able to get back into his face. I mean, Roethlisberger feels that. He continues to feel that pressure coming in on him, even on a play like this where he doesn't get outright hit. He feels the guys all over him, and that gets into his head.
And you know what? And you know what, Mike? The reason he gets that pressure in his face like that because Ben is holding this center
Yeah.
just a hair, right? Just a hair, and this guy is able to get in that crease just a little bit. That means everything. You're not going to always have sacks. You're not going to always tip the ball, but that quarterback feels that pressure, and you can give him a little bump at the end just to let him know, hey, I'm almost there.
That's a great point. That is hard to do. That is really hard for anybody to act like you're going to rush and then run out and try to, get that guy in the flat. That's how I didn't even realize that until you pointed it out.
What Najee Harris usually what they do is they look at that and they say, hey, Harris, you have 56. You got to stay in. You can't come out.
Right.
Yeah. And Ben Roethlisberger threw the ball an average of 2.4 seconds per drop out this week. That's impossible to get pressure against somebody that's getting the ball out that quickly. And so for it to continue, like that ball's out in less than 2 seconds and there's pressure there. That's hard to do. This is the very next play where once again, you're going to see pressure on another quick throw, trying to take advantage, a drag across the middle of the field that, again, L'Jarius Sneed here comes up with a big stop. This is on 3rd and 4. And L'Jarius Sneed is able to make the stop a yard short of the line here. And Ben has to kind of fade away because Chris Jones is in his face. Like he's not able to step into this, to lead it as much as he wants to. The ball's a little bit behind the receiver. That allows L'Jarius Sneed to come back into this, setting up a 4th down play here because of the pressure, because of the good defense on the back end. Once again, quick pass, still getting home, still affecting the passer.
Yeah, Chris Jones, his ability is such a big guy. We talk about it all the time, but his ability to just play so, he's just so, the way he moves, he looks like Frank Clark. He's got a great athletic ability, his ability to flip his hips, to get skinny through there. It's really rare to see a guy his size be able to rush the passer like that. And I'm laughing. I remember when Ben Roethlisberger used to be dangerous when we didn't care if he stayed back there. We were worried about him running. I mean, he was a guy that if he got out of the pocket and rolled out of the pocket, you had to be so worried. I mean, he was so dangerous. Now he just can't move. The man can't move.
Can't.
Time for him to go. But this is a good rush.
He's a sitting duck back there. But I tell you what, the DBs do a great job. This is a mesh concept right here, and the two receivers are going across. And a lot of times you bump into each other, but they're doing a tailpipe technique right here, making sure you say, "Hey, I'm gonna stay right behind my guy. If I'm right behind him, if he doesn't hit nobody, I don't hit nobody. And as soon as he catches the ball, I'm already on my horse, and I make a solid tackle. This is textbook right here. This is a great play call from offensive, but a better technique execution by the defense.
And
DJ, how hard is it to not get lost in that? Like if you watch them cross, right? I mean,
it's very hard, and it happens all the time where you're like, oh no, and you're trying to go under, over, and you bump into people, and when that happens, I mean, that guy is wide open, and they catch it, and they're still running, and it happens a lot. So it's really good that really important that DBs stay behind your guy, and you don't have to be right on him. He's going to probably catch the ball, but get through the mess, and then go make a tackle.
Yeah, and I mean, Tyrann Mathieu doing a good job from the hook here, sitting on that stick, sitting on that concept right there, right behind the mesh. Because if he tries to sit on some of that underneath stuff, now all of a sudden that plays open too. And shout out to Ben Niemann for once again kind of taking care of Najee Harris here from the A gap. That's just a great job on back-to-back plays. So it sets up this 4th and 1 play, probably the best play of the day for the Chiefs defense. What you're going to see here, they're going to try another toss sweep to this condensed formation. You've got a giant wide receiver in Chase Claypool to the right. You got your tight end on the line of scrimmage as well. And you're going to see L'Jarius Sneed spike underneath, take care of Chase Claypool, absorb 2 blocks, and Melvin Ingram's going to wrap over the top. You can actually see the Chiefs linebackers already. Ben Niemann, Willie Gay Jr. aligned to that side of the field. This play, once again, kind of doomed from the start, but good individual efforts up front on this and a great job. Like the cavalry's out there. There's nothing that the Steelers can do to try and counter this. There's just not enough bodies to stay in front of all these blocks. You got so many Chiefs. They're just all over this. Terrific play on 4th down. A loss of 3 on 4th down on a run play.
How did
that's
Ingram? Ingram, look, he read it right away. I mean,
he did.
That's nothing called, right, DJ? I mean, he just
that was
off.
Just being a smart player. Hey, This look right here, I got the tight end off, and I have a bunch formation right here. I mean, this is perfect. Saying, hey, if this tight end goes out, I got to get around right now. And I mean, goodness gracious,
I don't know if I've seen anybody play that well before.
That actually looked like a stunt. That's how well he played it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like,
he messed up the whole
runs out there.
Play, and everybody else is just flowing.
Yeah.
That's really impressive.
Yeah, it does look like a stunt because L'Jarius Sneed comes in there and he actually gets 3 with this play. Like he knocks Claypool into the tight end that's trying to get to Ingram. And then you've got that slot, that outside receiver trying to block him as well. It just, the whole thing's muddied up. But yeah, Melvin Ingram just quick on the trigger on this play. Blows it up.
You can tell these guys are studying film. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you can't just run out there like that unless you know exactly what's going on or it's a stunt. But I mean, their ability to just, they know exactly what's coming.
No,
I mean, everybody's running.
What the Chiefs are doing, they're putting stuff on film to let people know, hey, we're coming. Like you better strap up your boots, and this is what we do. And they're putting good stuff on film, man. When offenses see this, they say, okay, all right, guys, we got to be ready.
Yeah,
I mean, this is right here when Najee Harris receives the ball, it's already over. Like this is a problem already. It's done.
Look at Ingram. He's around.
He's out in front of the play already. Yes.
I don't think I've ever seen that. I mean, that's
absolutely
incredible.
Yeah.
Like even if being in that defensive end position, granted this is 11 personnel, but so I wouldn't have been out there. But even if I was in that position and knew what was coming, I wouldn't have the guts to run out there like that. I mean, that's like really good football.
Yes, absolutely. All right. We're going to get to the final big play that we're going to talk about today. And this was a turnover, big turnover. We talked about how the Steelers were trying to get the ball out quickly, trying to get horizontal, just nothing working here. And so what do? They've done a good job so far of not calling too many play action passes with Ben Roethlisberger's back to the defensive line, because then he's not going to be able to see the rush coming. This is a play that's taking way too long to develop, a fake reverse here. And Ben is just going to have Tershawn Wharton on him immediately. He's there, and I timed this, guys, frame by frame. He is there in 1.3 seconds on this play. Just whoops the center here. And because this is a long developing play with this, with this wide receiver coming around the end, it's not a reverse, it's an end around, but Turk Wharton is just all over this. Jaron Reed's able to scoop up the ball. He's right there too. It's just a terrific play. They beat up the Steelers' interior offensive line all day, and this is just kind of the culmination of that.
My agent has Wharton, and I was talking to him the other day, and I said, "Hey man, what happened? You were getting all these run stopping guys. Now all of a sudden you have these great athletic defensive linemen in the squad. I mean, this is just, and he's an undrafted." Right. I mean, he's an undrafted young player, and this is really a heads up play. I mean, he doesn't bite on anything. He's right there. Great swim move. I mean, explosive off the football. I mean, this is just textbook.
And I like that he even sees the end around and pauses for just a second. It's just like, let me see, let me wait this out, and then okay, well, I'll just take the sack. Yeah,
this is a defensive line having a party at the ball. I mean, this is when defensive linemen go to their meeting rooms to watch this. They're in there having a good time, because this is all about just get off, and then being a smart player, knowing the situation, and just taking advantage of it. And Big Boy got the ball, and he didn't score, but I'm sure his hamstrings.
Man, I was hoping for it though. When he picked up this ball here, I was really rooting for it. I love a big man touchdown. So
that's more yards than I ever had right there. Yeah, I mean, if this defense continues to play this sound with this many, and all the playmakers stay healthy, and they continue to play this kind of football, which is technically sound, smart football. I mean, you have the best of both worlds. You have guys who are Pro Bowl players, but who are also really paying attention to what's going on and taking advantage of the fact that they're studying film and recognizing things before the snap and using their techniques. This is the kind of stuff that wins now in the playoffs, right? As we get closer to the playoffs, those kind of defenses, those are the teams that are going to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 2 months ago, you would say, if I say, hey, man, I still believe in the Chiefs. The Chiefs are going to go, people say, I don't know, man. That boat sailed. But I tell you what, when you can win and dominate in November and December,
yeah,
I mean, sky's the limit. The Chiefs are have built a culture that's going to last for a long time, especially
right.
under Andy Reid. They're playing, man. I love the defense. I mean, offense they did what they did, but defensively, I love when they play lights out.
Right.
Yep.
You built that culture, 56. You built that culture.
It,
Yeah,
man.
you did, brother. You built it. Yeah, but I mean, you're right, and we've talked about it a million times, but when you look at them from the beginning of the season, the turnaround is just that only happens with culture. I mean, there's no other way to explain it. I've never seen it because I was one of those people that was like, I love this team, but wow, this defense is really having a tough time. And there's a couple little things you can fix. But I was thinking this was going to be a more of the offense will finally get going and the defense will just have to hang on. This defense, the turnaround they made is incredible. Yeah, incredible. Absolutely. We need to do a sort of side by side of what the defensive front and looked like at the beginning of the year compared to what they look like now. I got to talk to Spags and say, what the hell did you do? How'd you do that? How'd you fix it so fast?
Yeah. Tell you what, Chiefs get the 1 seed. Let's do that during the bye. That's the perfect thing to do during the bye there. So, all right. I think DJ and Mike DeVito, this is an extra long episode, man. We got through a lot of plays. This is a big one, man. But Chiefs keep playing this well. Chiefs got a big matchup coming against the Cincinnati Bengals this week. Maybe a shaky interior offensive line again. Keep your eye on these guys that we've been talking about here. We'll be back next week with breakdowns for that. Thank you very much.